Have a great ride. Hello. Have a good time. Hello. 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 Have a wonderful week. Good morning. You heading over to the duel? See you over there.
I wish I had the blower today, but that's okay.
We'll all live just fine.
Right.
Well, thank you. Have a wonderful day. See ya.
You too.
Every now and then, from a typewriter to a personal computer to an iPhone, a new piece of technology comes out that absolutely changes the game. If the e-bike was the iPhone of the mountain bike world, the Amflow is the generative AI, changing a game we thought we knew and making it a whole new landscape. As many of you have let me know in the comments in, well, every single eMTB video I've published within the last year, the new Avanox drive system has created quite a buzz. Despite the controversy, I'm here to say that the buzz is legit.
That was so sketchy. Oh my goodness. This is a very exciting thing. So right here is the Amflow e-bike you've all been asking about. I'm very excited to open this. This is also my first ever e-bike that I personally get to keep and own. So before I get into this video, I want to give a huge thanks to Amflow who sponsored this video. So technically this is an ad, and they're also letting me keep this bike. Let's pop it open and get a look at the most sought after and requested bike for the channel here in 2025. Oh, it's got a dork disc in back, okay. Good thing I got a cassette lock ring removal tool.
In July of 2024, the announcement of the new Amflow bike, powered by the Avanox drive system, created a ton of commotion. The Avanox unit was designed by a world-leading tech giant. The result is a class-leading combination of power, battery life, and an amazingly smooth delivery. The eMTB market has indeed been disrupted.
That's insane. That thing is so smooth, so natural. That's like right there at TQ and Fazua, if not even better. Jiminy crikey, trail mode is so much power. This is more than boost on the other bikes.
The Amflow PL Carbon Pro is an all-around trail eMTB. The frame has 150 millimeters of suspension travel and some decently aggressive modern trail bike geometry. It's Mullet compatible, and I will ride it both as a dual 29 as well as a Mullet. The bike uses a 160mm travel Fox 36 all-mountain fork along with the Grip X2 damper. In back, we find a Float-X rear shock, and the bike has components you'll mostly find familiar. The Amflow branded wheels have carbon rims, and the bars and grips are also from Amflow.
Carbon Amflow wheels, wow. I think these are carbon. Sure sounds like carbon. Well, I'm working on my Scott review video right now and doing some Patreon tutorials on how to drift through corners. And I noticed that the Scott's rear wheel is a very flexy little pizza cutter. Thought I'd do the same test on the Amflow. Watch the rear wheel. You can see it flexing, but it is definitely stiffer than the Syncros wheel that the Scott comes with OEM.
The rear derailleur is a SRAM XO Eagle transmission, and it's hardwired to the main propulsion battery of the Amflow. This makes so much sense on an eMTB, and if I never have to charge another derailleur battery again, I'll be a slightly less grumpy old man. The brakes are Magura MT7, and the seat post is a Fox transfer unit. The saddle is from our friends over at Ergon. Now, I am 5 foot 8 inches tall, and I normally ride a size medium bike. Nearly every bike that's been on my channel is a size medium. However, Amflow didn't have a size medium PL Carbon Pro available in time for the video. And since the size large is only a few millimeters bigger than most of the mediums I'm riding, I decided to try the large.
Oh, I'll be able to ride this. This is big, but it's not massive. Feels about like an e-bike, like not crazy. There's some power. Okay, time for the true story, some descending. Because for me, this is what matters.
It's ever so slightly big on me, but at only a 472mm reach, it's exactly the same measurement as the size medium Norco Fluid VLT I rode last summer. Amflow is working to send a size medium, and once it's here, I'll certainly post an update comparing the two.
All right, let's try a little slalom action. Oh, it jumps pretty good. I could definitely use a little taller handlebar. Cool, didn't bottom out too hard. That was good.
For now, I've swapped on some taller rise bars to help bring the front end back towards my normal riding position. I do notice the size large in tighter bits of trail and when doing bunny hops and jumps, but it's not been too challenging to enjoy it as it is.
Oh, almost caught my pedal on that stump. It's the challenge of riding a bike. It's too big for you. At the same time, this thing isn't very large for a size large.
At first, I rode the bike nearly bone stock. It ships with lightweight single-ply tires, and they have ultra-thin inner tubes installed. I swapped these out for my normal dual-ply tires and used some reserve valve stems to set up the Amflow wheels as tubeless.
Just had a brake lever slip on the handlebar a little bit. Yes, I ride like a gorilla. Before I even did the first ride, I put on some more heavy-duty tires. I don't get along with lightweight single-ply casing tires. I also swapped them off because it comes with these lightweight inner tubes installed. You're probably gonna pinch flat pretty quick if you're sending it with lightweight inner tubes with single-ply tires. What I'm gonna do is throw on an aftermarket set of handlebars. They are a bit higher rise than the stock bars. This should make the bike fit pretty good for me. It's gonna be a tad big, but it's not atrociously large. Yeah, it's way more comfy. Hey, Rocco.
The stock rim tape works just fine. In this configuration, along with Deity T-Mac pedals, my bike weighed about 46 pounds. That's absolutely not bad, and it's definitely lighter than any other full-power e-bike I've had here. And at that 46-pound weight, the Amflow is lighter than some SL eMTBs, yet with both more power and range than the full-power electric bikes have that often weigh 5 more pounds. My biggest gripe about eMTBs is that the full-power bikes aren't fun because they're too heavy. Amflow turns this complaint around and absolutely disrupts the industry. The Amflow is only 3 pounds heavier than the Pivot Shuttle SL, but it offers twice the range, all with 4 times the power. In this case, I can look past 3 pounds. How about you? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, the ride that matters most to me is how a bike feels on the fun part of the trail. It needs to descend well, it needs to climb naturally, and it needs to be intuitive when the trail presents some root and rock puzzles. It also needs to be fun on the more mundane trails to not mute terrain into a mindless treadmill. The Amflow handles great. It jumps decently and corners nicely. The bike isn't a free ride or downhill rig, and I didn't test it as such. But when hitting our standard flavor of trail terrain, the Amflow does exactly what it needs to do. I actually preferred both the geometry and the suspension of the Amflow over the recent Yeti MTE. The Amflow back end is 12 millimeters longer than the Pivot Shuttle SL I love so much, but taller bars help find a nice balance. I wouldn't mind some shorter chainstays on the Amflow, as on a bike with a massive battery strapped to the front, any help you can get sending that rig airborne is well appreciated. Folks get confused because there's a trend for analog bikes getting longer back ends, but anything electric, and that equation is indeed very different. I had bottom outs, some harsher than others. They weren't terrible though.
Whew, oh God, clunk, over and clear.
Given the initial plushness of the suspension, I think the overall feel is as a trail bike should be.
Pretty rocky, eh?
As promised, I tossed a 27.5 rear wheel on the bike and rode it as a mullet.
I've been riding the Amflow setup in the dual 29-inch wheel configuration, which is how I generally prefer most bikes. That said, recently I have enjoyed some eMTBs with a mullet rear wheel, and right here I have said mullet rear wheel. So I'm gonna swap this thing on here. There's 2 little chips on the back of the clevis yoke where it hits the link right here. You flip those around and it should work with the other rear wheel. So I'm curious how traction's gonna be, and I'm curious how playful it's gonna be on the downs, so.
I was surprised. It felt good, but it wasn't nearly as big of a change as I expected. This is a bit of a contrast from that Yeti MTE, which I far preferred as a mullet. My preference at the Amflow is indeed matching 29-inch wheels.
Wow, this is very wide angle. First ride on the mullet rear wheel. It feels good, you know, it does what it needs to do. Is it very different? I wouldn't say it's a world of difference. I'm not sure if I'm sold on the smaller rear wheel on this bike. The small rear wheel made a much bigger difference on the Yeti than it is making here on the Amflow. So I think that's because this bike doesn't have as long of a rear end as the Yeti has. And when you have all that weight of a battery and a motor hanging off your front triangle, the last thing you want is a long back end, because that takes a heavy bike and makes it even harder to get off the ground. So in this case, the back end's shorter than Yeti, so it's not as hard to jump as the Yeti. So it's not as big of an improvement as it was on the Yeti. Whatever. I don't understand the hype behind Mullet wheels. Like, every bike is different. And in this case, the Mullet is not exactly a game changer to me. I kind of prefer the 29. Anyhow, let's keep riding.
For a few comparisons, well, the Amflow is torsionally stiffer than the Orbea Rise LT and feels more ready to work its way through jumpy flow trails. The Amflow also provides more support through the suspension than does the Rise LT. The Shimano drive system on the Orbea is really good, but it's a tough comparison to the industry-disrupting Avinox unit. The Yeti MTE is a good bike, and the TQ HBR60 system it uses is my second favorite behind this Avinox. I appreciate the simplicity of the HBR60 and it has plenty of power and range for my needs. That said, the Avinox is even smoother, more consistent, and far more adjustable. The Pivot Shuttle SL is by far the best handling eMTB I've ridden yet. That said, despite 1,000 miles of nearly problem-free Fazua miles, other riders haven't been so lucky, and the Pivot needed a bit of work to get its handling to my sweet spot. The Norco Fluid VLT is a tricky comparison to the Amflow. The Bosch Performance SX is a popular lightweight system, but it's nowhere as refined, quiet, or strong as the Avinox. Handling-wise, the Norco's shorter chainstay felt really nice, and the overall bike weight felt similar. The Norco was a stiffer frame build, so for aggressive riding, I felt the Norco was slightly better suited. The Whistler bike park felt very appropriate aboard the Fluid VLT, but would be slightly more than I'd recommend for the Amflow.
Where's the traction?
Now, I should probably mention some more tech things. I'm not the most tech-savvy of consumers, but I am really surprised at how a few of the integrated smart features work. The app allows for easy adjustment to power levels. I was able to do this on the trail on my first couple rides.
Paired successfully. Hey. So I just got my phone out, custom assist modes. Let's go ahead and fix this. Eco is horrible. It doesn't have nearly the power. Let's go from max torque 105, max power 850. That's insane. We'll turn trail down to 600, max torque to 80. More on eco, less on trail. Oh yeah, that's way better.
The app also tracks your rides and provides fun data such as distance and elevation gain. Now what gets even more unique is that there's a theft mode that uses the bike's trackability to allow the owner to know when the bike is moved and where it is. This is similar to having a tracking device such as an AirTag installed in the bike. You can also require a phone key to unlock the bike.
That was so sketchy.
The Amflow has a walk mode, though with the bike's exceptional performance, I didn't find myself really needing to use it much. It still requires holding a button continuously on the handlebar to activate. The main point most reviewers make about this bike is around its massive power. The Amflow ships to consumers in the USA as a 750-watt Class 1 eMTB. Users are then able to tune the bike via that app. Adjustable parameters include general assistance, maximum torque, maximum power, motor overrun, assisted start, and continued assist. When the bike was first announced, reviewers were very vocal about the bike's ability to hit that max boost of 1,000 watts. This is not a feature I use or enjoy, but a lot of folks definitely fixate on this. At 1,000 watts, the bike is beyond the legal limit for Class 1 or even Class 3 eMTB in the USA. Most US legislation around eMTB is done at the state level, and federally, eMTBs are defined as 750 watts or less, with that max speed of 20 miles per hour. Since it was first announced, I've been very concerned about the legality of the Amflow. For all the riding in this video, sans the first bit in my backyard, I set the motor to have a max power of 750 watts. I am so glad that Amflow is delivering the bike in the US already set to that max of 750 watts. Yes, users can go into the app and bump the limit to 1,000 watts and be over the legal limit. Users can also go into the app and enable Class 3 mode. Class 3 is governed state by state, but generally mandates 750 watt max, but with a 28 mile per hour speed limit. Just like with cars and motorcycles, we govern actions and not products. Straight up, I much prefer Class 3 for getting around town. It's safer to ride with traffic than being a rolling roadblock. And while the bike is fast, it's not fast enough to hold anywhere near that 28 mile per hour on a steep mountain bike climb. It's still only 1.25 horsepower if you go to that illegally high performance mode. Within the first few rides, I found I didn't enjoy climbing that much in boost mode. Yes, it's fast, but it runs through that battery quite quickly. I preferred the bike in trail mode with reduced power. This kept so much more juice in the tank, and SRAM chains are not exactly indestructible.
Well, there's my chain broken. Sweet, I don't have a quick link.
I'm not crazy about flying uphill at 5 times my natural output. It's still a long shot from any sort of motorcycle, but it feels out of place in typical mountain bike trail networks.
So I'm down here in trail mode, bone stock, and like pedaling medium hard. I'm just flying uphill. I just rode up the same trail the other night at the Bosch. This is so much more power. Wow, 20 miles an hour uphill. Well, e-bikes were fun while they lasted, but I do think this is gonna be the end of eMTB.
My normal trails feel too short when I try to go extra fast on this bike. And it doesn't KTM 890 motorcycle is constantly sampling the position of that rear wheel. I'm able to climb steep and loose hills easily where other eMTBs have me unable to even find any traction.
There it is. Oh, grip, Granite, grip.
Whoa, whoa.
One of the coolest things about the Amflow bike is how it applies power to the rear wheel. To me, the way it climbs really steep hills, it just has more control. And how does it do that? Through constant sampling of how the rear wheel is doing, if it's skipping or not, if it's slipping and roosting up the trail. Well, that's not a brand new piece of tech. It's called a reluctor ring. It runs the whole length around the rear wheel itself. And sure enough, my KTM Adventure 890R has a similar bit of technology. So to show you what kind of a thing traction control is, right now we're in slip setting 9, which means the least amount of traction control. Check out the rear wheel on this steep little hill.
Dusty.
Now we're down to slip level 1 for the least amount of rear wheel spin. Let's see the difference.
Less dust.
I want to show you all just how much traction this bike finds on that same loose hill. Don't pay attention that it's a 100 horsepower motorcycle versus a 1 horsepower bicycle. That's not what we're talking about. Look at the rear wheel. This is the Bosch lightweight SX low power motor, and it's got 1 magnet sensor on the rear wheel. Let's hammer up this and see what happens with that rear tire. It's wild how much the traction control helps the bike get up something loose and slippery. And on the bicycle, when you only have 1 magnet that does a whole rotation, especially on a 29-inch wheel, you have unsampled data for a lot of distance. That's a big part of why eMTBs don't climb steep hills that well. They just roost out the rear tire. Whereas the Amflow takes care of that by constantly metering just how fast that rear wheel is going. And now the fastest bike of the day. Oh, this is intimidating. Turns out it's easy on this bike with the Amflow. Holy cow. That's insane. Did you think that was gonna work?
No,
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty surprised.
I've been riding e-bikes since like 2019. I did not think I could make it up this, let alone first try, let alone with flat pedals. I've never felt uphill traction like that before. That was pretty cool.
Now, my takes on this tech stuff are sometimes a bit unusual. I guess this continues to be the same here. It's not what Amflow is packing, but it's how it uses it that has me excited, and I haven't really heard that elsewhere. My big complaints aren't that many. First up, Amflow's lack of publicly supporting the advocacy groups that maintain mountain biking status in the USA is a little disappointing. There's a lot of opportunity for Amflow there. Second, the bike is overpowered for my needs. Logan, a top expert-level dirt bike racer, had 2 really bad crashes when the bike's overrun unexpectedly looped him out off of jumps.
Oh my God. Oh my God. You okay?
Yeah, it gave me a crazy boost
Yeah.
right at the last second. I was like pedaling as hard as I could.
Were you in auto?
And then No, I was in
Turbo.
And then at the last second, it was like, it was almost as if you like whiskey.
And you almost hit your head on the roof. So I just heard a big thunk. You all right? Holy cow.
The way the bike ships, the massive amount of overrun in turbo and auto modes is not something I found helpful. I have since turned off the overrun feature and now enjoy the bike far more. Now, the handling is great, but it could still be even a little bit better. Acoustic bikes are using longer back ends, but eMTBs are different. A little shorter back end would be a nice change, and a little extra stiffness would be nice. Beyond that, it's an incredible bike. I absolutely expect a ton of traditional brands to adopt the Avenix ecosystem.
The bottom line on the Amflow Carbon PL Pro. This bike is incredible, and it's such a good eMTB. I want to remind everyone it's critical to be a good ambassador for electric mountain bike and when you're out riding on the trails. Mountain bike access, acoustic and electric, is not guaranteed, and we cannot take our access for granted. So please be very considerate of others. If you're going uphill on an electric bike, go for the access road, not the single track option, especially on a busy weekend morning. And if you are needing to overtake other riders, perhaps on acoustics, perhaps on obsolete older electric bikes, announce your presence, ask to pass. Hey there, I'm on an electric bike, can I please pass by? Please, everyone, use your words. We did a whole video about eMTB etiquette a little while ago, and I'll link to that in the corner up here. Now, the bike itself is incredibly well thought out, and the pricing is gosh darn competitive. The lower end model, the PL Carbon, is $7,500. That's a steal of a deal for an e-bike, let alone an e-bike with the industry-leading Avenox drive system. This one has tested the PL Carbon Pro, the higher end model, $10,200. That's a lot of money. I'm not saying it's not a lot of money, but for the best of the best, that's a pretty darn good deal. I just tested a couple other eMTBs that cost north of that. Yeah, these things are gonna be taking the world by storm here, at least the US world by storm. And I wanna give a huge thanks to Amflow for sponsoring this video. I see why when they first announced these a year ago, everyone was so excited because the thing's incredible. So huge thanks to Amflow. Big thanks to all of you for watching. I'll see your feedback in the comments down below, and I can't wait to reply to your messages and all that. Thanks again, everyone. I'll see you in the comments. Peace and wheelies.